All right, today we are diving into a story of manipulation so incredibly precise it's been perfected over millions of years. We're talking about the world of the zombie ant fungus, a tiny microscopic organism that is an absolute master of biological puppetry. Let's get right into it. I mean, think about it. It sounds like something straight out of a horror movie, right? A parasite that hijacks your nervous system and forces you to move completely against your will. Well, for one little creature, this is not science fiction at all. For the humble carpenter ant, this terrifying scenario has been a reality for almost 50 million years. It's this incredible, long-running evolutionary arms race between an unsuspecting host and its microscopic puppet master. So let's meet the two main players in this drama. On one side, you have the highly social, hardworking carpenter ant, and on the other, the parasite, a group of fungi called Ophiocordyceps. Now, to really get how this all works, we first need to understand a really cool biological concept. This whole wild story is possible because of something called the extended phenotype. So, what does that mean? It means the ant's bizarre, totally self-destructive behavior. Well, it's not just a symptom of being sick. It's the fungus's own genes being expressed through the ant's body. The fungus is literally building its own future by remote controlling the ant's actions. It's a mind-bending idea that really blurs the line where one organism ends and another one begins. So, where does this all start? Well, it begins with a single microscopic spore that lands on an ant just going about its day. And this is the beginning of a silent internal takeover. That spore, it doesn't just sit there. It gets to work, releasing this powerful enzymatic cocktail, a mix of things like chitinases and proteases that literally dissolves a hole right through the ant's tough exoskeleton. Once it's inside, it slips into the ant's circulatory system and just starts multiplying like crazy, spreading these yeast-like cells all throughout the body. And here's the really clever part. For the next 2 to 3 weeks, the ant acts completely normal. You'd never know anything was wrong. It does its chores, it shares food. The colony has no idea. You see, the fungus has evolved to fly completely under the radar of the colony's social immunity, keeping its host safe and fed while it secretly builds its army of cells inside. But then something changes. Once the fungus hits a critical mass inside the ant's body, it's time for the final act. The parasite starts to pull the strings, forcing the ant on its one and only final mission. The ant's behavior just completely unravels. Its normal daily rhythms, shattered. It starts moving with these erratic, twitchy convulsions. And it's driven to abandon its nest, totally isolating itself from its colony. But most importantly, it gets this irresistible, compulsive urge to climb. And the fungus is so precise about this. The ant is compelled to climb to a very specific height, right around 25 centimeters off the forest floor. And that's not random. Nope. That exact elevation gives the fungus the perfect temperature and humidity it needs to grow and reproduce. Which, of course, brings us to the biggest question. How on earth does a simple fungus achieve this incredible level of control? For years, scientists just assumed it must be invading the ant's brain. But the reality is so much weirder. So here's the big reveal. The fungus doesn't even touch the brain. Instead, it forms this elaborate, interconnected 3D network of cells that surrounds and literally infiltrates the ant's muscles. It's a puppeteer, directly yanking on the limbs and the mandibles. The ant's brain is left completely intact, basically a prisoner in its own body, forced to watch as the fungus carries out its fatal journey. And now we come to the climax of this whole thing, a behavior that has been perfected over millions of years and serves as the fungus's ultimate evolutionary masterpiece. And we know this is ancient because we found the receipts. There are fossilized leaves from 48 million years ago that show the distinct dumbbell-shaped bite marks from this death grip. We've even found fungal ancestors trapped in amber, dating back 100 million years. So yeah, this isn't some new trick. It's a co-evolutionary dance that has been going on for eons. So when the ant reaches its final spots, usually on the underside of a leaf, it just waits. The fungus actually uses the sun as a trigger. Right around solar noon, it forces the ant to perform its final act, a powerful, irreversible bite into the leaf vein. So how does it make that bite permanent? Well, first, the fungus causes the ant's jaw muscles to contract so hard that it physically damages the fibers. At the same time, it completely drains the muscles of ATP, which is the energy molecule they need to relax. Without any ATP, the muscles simply cannot unlock. The ant is permanently stuck there, creating the perfect, stable platform for what happens next. Within a few hours, the ant dies. The fungus then gets to work consuming the ant's insides for nutrients, and then a fruiting body, a stalk, erupts right out of the back of the ant's head. And this stalk will eventually rain down a whole new generation of spores onto the unsuspecting ants on the foraging trails below, starting the entire gruesome cycle all over again. Okay, so after hearing all that, you're probably wondering, why aren't our forests just giant graveyards of zombified ants? Well, as terrifying as this fungus is, nature has its own very powerful checks and balances. It turns out there's a parasite for the parasite. Yup, another fungus, what we call a hyperparasite, specifically targets the zombie ant fungus. It attacks that stalk as it's growing, effectively castrating it and stopping it from ever releasing spores. And get this, in some areas, this happens to more than half of all infected ants, which keeps the whole zombie population in check. Now, it's really important to clarify something here. You've probably seen cordyceps sold as a health supplement. That is a completely different species, something like Cordyceps militaris. It's known for having immunomodulating properties, and it's perfectly safe. The zombie fungus, Ophiocordyceps, is packed with neurotoxic compounds designed for manipulation and is absolutely not for consumption. So no, your mushroom copy is not going to turn you into a zombie. In the end, the zombie ant fungus is just a stunning, if not a little terrifying, example of the power of evolution. It's this incredible reminder that just beneath the surface of everything we see, there are countless unseen forces pulling the strings, shaping behaviors, and driving the intricate machinery of the natural world. It really makes you wonder, what else is out there just waiting to be discovered?